Welcome everybody to the Depths of Motherhood podcast. This is a special season dedicated to the tribe of the mother, but also I know any mothers listening will find this extremely valuable. I've created each episode to offer simple, digestible, and supportive information, which I hope will educate and inspire anyone who listens. So this is by popular demand. Please help us to educate and support the tribe holding the mother. Look forward to passionate and highly knowledgeable guests dedicated to reclaiming the essence of birth and embracing conscious parenting. Throughout our time together, our guests will serve as the guiding voices, illuminating the path towards a deeper understanding of preconception, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. This is with the mother and the baby being the center of the exploration. In the show notes, you'll discover the link to Nourished Mother package, which will offer many different resources to complement each episode. This is free for all members in the Women's Circle, or £33 for everybody who just wants to purchase the package. A heartfelt thank you to our incredible guests and immense gratitude to my partner for supporting me on this creation. And finally, last but not least, special thank you to Araya, my daughter, for being the endless well of inspiration. Hello everybody, today we have Sacha Bryce on the show. She is the founder of Core Soul Work and the creator of Core Clarity Certification. Sacha studies psychology at the University of Toronto in her home city and abroad at the University of Sydney, Australia and Edinburgh, Scotland. She completed holistic yoga therapy training in India, Thailand and Denmark. At 8 years old, she was introduced to tapping by her mother and found her way back to learn and apply these techniques in 2017. So I'm curious if you've ever practiced emotional freedom technique, which is EFT. It is this practice which involves tapping on specific points of the body while focusing on a certain issue. And this is what we're going to talk all about today. Sacha is going to go deep into this. And I've come to really connect to this practice because it actually complements my current practice, which is an energy healing technique from Evolving Humans. It is the holding of the space, the feeling, the sensations in the body, and it goes beyond the mind's ideas and labels. And I've placed it in the preconception because I find that this practice would benefit everyone in the world at any stage in their life. But really coming into this point where we're preparing our body, our mind, our spirit to receive a baby. So the video for this episode where you can see where Sacha is tapping on specific points, you can find it in the membership space in the program called Nourished Mother. So you can purchase the membership or you can buy the package one off, the Nourished Mother package. I'll leave everything in the show notes. So I'll leave the video and I'll also put the script underneath so that you can adapt it to serve your own needs at this moment in time. So before we go into this amazing episode, I just want to say that we have made some shifts in the Women's Circle online where we are gathering every other week, which lands usually around the full or the new moon. Last week, we really started to tune into our nervous system and create unique practices for ourselves to serve where we're at in each moment. And all these practices and gatherings that we are doing online, I am putting into the membership space so you can receive these practices, this information in your own time. The next gathering we are doing is on the 9th of June, which is a Sunday. And we are going to be doing a practice to explore our boundaries, how it feels to have boundaries, how it feels when someone crosses them, what it means to have healthy boundaries. So we're going on an exploration of this. So you can join for free if you're in the membership or purchase a one-off ticket. I'll leave the link for that also in the show notes. So let's take a deep breath and tune in to our body, to this moment in time. How does it feel to exist inside of your physical body right now? If there's any unnecessary tension that is hanging around, maybe you can locate it in the jaw or the hands or the feet or maybe the shoulders. If you take your next inhale and guide your awareness there, and then exhale to soften and see what remains, and just hold that with love. Let the breath come in gently and let's go on a journey to explore EFT and how it can support us in our life. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, everybody, to the Depths of Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Danielle. Today, we welcome Sacha onto the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to dive in.
Yes, me too. So, these episodes are all for the tribe of the mother. And we've been talking through these episodes about how important it is for the tribe to stay nourished, to stay anchored, to feel supported. So, with what we're about to talk about, it's not just to share with the mother, but it's for you as well as a listener supporting the mother, because you deserve this love and nourishment and support as well. So, that being said, could you give us a brief overview of what emotional freedom technique is? EFT.
Absolutely, yes. So it is becoming more popular nowadays, but it's rooted in the same system as when you go to get an acupuncture treatment with the needles or acupressure and it's rooted from traditional Chinese medicine. So they mapped the body of these energy highways, meridian channels in the body, and found that when we tap on particular points, we can reduce the cortisol levels in the body, reduce stress, and also signal to the brain, the amygdala, that you're in a safe space. Because a lot of the time when we feel fear or anxiety, it's our body is cueing us that something isn't safe, and our body responds to that. So it came, I could tell you a lot more about the history and the details of it, but it started being with thought field therapy in this way that it was a bit more particular. So you tap on, for example, under the eyes, the stomach meridian point. If you were having fear in your stomach, you would there a certain number of times and focus on the fear in your stomach. And Gary Craig went to a course of this. He was the one who developed EFT and was like, what if we just tapped on all the points in this basic recipe? So that's what you learn when you look online, where you start tapping at the side of the hand and you tap through all the points. And it's like a general overview to reduce stress and as you focus on whatever it is that's dysregulated in your system.
Super interesting. I did not know any of that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
This is new to me. Like, I know a lot of different healing modalities, but EFT is a new one. And I was mentioning Angelica, who used to co-host, she does this and she loves it. She swears by it. I'm curious to how you actually got into this yourself.
Yeah. So it was actually through my own mother. So my mom went on her own holistic healing journey. She watched her dad die of colon cancer when she was in her 20s, and my mom was raised in a very traditional family, and they like basically raised off of canned noodle soup, this type of like the basic bare minimum. And after she watched the medical system intervene with that whole situation, she was like, okay, there has to be other ways. Like, how do we prevent ourselves from getting sick? What is causing this sickness, these things coming in that take over people's health? And she really dedicated her life to holistic healing. So she became a holistic nutritionist and became an EFT practitioner and studied all these different pathways. And when I was about 8 years old, she introduced me to tapping.
Wow. Thank you for sharing the story, and big love out to your mum. And congratulations to her for finding this path. Wow, that's incredible. And so now in your daily life, are you teaching this to other people? Are you training people? What is happening?
Yeah, so I started working with one-to-one clients, which I still do. When you're tapping has a range of being like a self-regulating modality. So it's something we can simply use on our own. I tell people like I'm tapping while I'm driving to process things that are going on in my mind, or you can tap when you start to feel like you're having trouble focusing. So you can really use it as a self-regulation technique. But then when you're working with someone one-to-one, it becomes more of a therapeutic technique. So similar to going to a talk therapist, it's like you can look at anything that's going on in your life And as we start tapping, it's amazing what happens. Like most people are surprised because they're like, you got to be kidding. Like you're tapping on your face. Like, what are you talking about? Like people who aren't so into this type of stuff. But it's amazing what happens because I've seen it over and over again that people say in 5 years, in 10 years of talk therapy, I've never gone this deep. And so as we're tapping into the somatics of the experience, we make way for subconscious programs to start to be revealed, or people have memories from early childhood that they hadn't thought of in years. And so really I see it as like we're clearing space so that the body can reveal information to us, because the body is holding on to all of our life experiences. And so when we make space for it to come up, it's really incredible. People find themselves crying. They don't usually cry, or their body is showing them the effectiveness of it.
So there could be any part of you coming up at them times when we're having these emotions. So it's really holding space for which all these different parts of ourselves, which is coming to the surface, which we might sometimes label as being uncomfortable or painful, or think we want to get rid of it. But instead, it's another way of holding space at the same time, working through these channels to be able to process it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. It works really well with parts work, which, internal family systems, if you're familiar. Yeah, it's just incredible. I'm actually doing a course right now with Richard Schwartz, like he's the founder of it, and it's just so amazing. But with tapping works really, really well with parts, because you can actually, as you're saying, like work and tap and regulate the dysregulated parts that are asking for our attention inside of our system.
Wow, incredible. Are you doing that online, the course?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always studying something.
Sounds great. I'm like, woohoo, I want to find
I
it.
know. And I
I love his work. It's amazing. Like when I read his book, it changed my whole way of being in relationship with these different parts of myself. It really reminded me of my like strength and ability to hold more than I thought I could.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very common that I used to consider myself like an anxious person and start to identify with that feeling of that's just the way I am. And I find that the parts work really helps to be like, okay, there's an anxious part of me that needs something, and reminding you that you have what in parts work they call like the self, like the capital S self, or the wise self, or the witness self, that can actually separate from that experience and start to communicate, ask it questions like, is there something that you need? Is there something that you're wanting to me to pay attention to right now? And that's really opened up so much for me as well. And for going back to your original question, I train people in EFT, and we do a whole module on parts work, and I have them read the book No Bad Parts, which is kind of the most recent book on IFS. So it's incredible.
Wonderful work that you're doing, Sasha. Well done. So how do you feel that EFT could support mothers in pregnancy?
Mothers while they're in pregnancy and postpartum as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even through the whole journey, like preconception too. I imagine this could help all different phases.
Absolutely. Yeah. I work commonly with mothers, as I was saying in my course. A lot of the women who are attracted to learning EFT also have kids. And I think it's helpful, or I always think of like, for the children, the whole world is the mother, and the mother's nervous system is their world. So when something's off with the mother, that is what the children are attuning to, especially. And so you as a mother taking care of yourself, and of course, like then there's all the mom guilt of like, okay, I'm not always regulated. Of course you're not. but doing whatever you can to regulate your own nervous system and to process whatever's coming up for you as an emotional being, especially under immense stress of being a mother. You need it more than ever. And when you can learn this simple tool that's, at your own fingertips to regulate your own emotions and process things as they come up, I think it's incredibly valuable because your children are going to pick up and attune to that right away. My sister just had her baby a couple of years ago. My niece is 2. And so watching her in the pregnancy journey too, especially like my sister is someone who's not really open to alternative medicine, but like she's like, oh, this tapping stuff works. So I think as you're like pregnant and your body's changing, like you just become more open to like, okay, whatever works, I'm going to try it. And so I think as like tapping, as I was saying, it's like this free, simple, effective tool that can help you reduce stress. And I think all mothers could use a little bit of that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I feel it. I'm really excited to learn more from you. I'm wondering if we could go through, if you could guide me through so people can experience this along with me.
For sure.
Great.
Yeah. I wonder, do you think maybe we could just touch on that kind of feeling of like mom guilt? I think maybe that's for some reason coming up. I think as I've just seen it so often with moms. It's like, you love your kids more than anything and you're trying to do the best job possible, but just you're not perfect and you're going to mess up. And I've tapped with so many moms on having like angry outbursts or, just losing control, their own inner child parts coming out and having little tantrums. And then the added level of shame of like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. So maybe we can do a little round to see if there's something and the thing with tapping is like, the more specific you get to what you're experiencing in your body, the better the results you'll have. So we want to look for like, what is the actual feeling? So if you think back to a time where you had a bit of like guilt around something you did with your kids, then I'll ask you, and if you want to close your eyes or just like tune into that feeling, what comes up for you from that place? Is it like a contraction in your stomach or wanting to almost like hide in shame? And noticing where the body is contracting. And with tapping, we give the physical sensation a measurement from 0 to 10. So that's called a subjective units of distress scale. So if your shoulders are tense or your stomach is tense, you just want to notice, is this tension like a 7 out of 10 or is it like a 5 out of 10? And that will help you measure as we tap to notice the release that's happening in the body. So I'll do a little general tapping. We can tap on the side of the hand where the pinky finger is. I call this like the squishy part of the hand. Yeah, either hand works. And this is where we do the setup statement. So Danielle, if you want to repeat the words after me or leave it, and I'll ask the audience just to say the words out loud as you're tapping as well. That can be really helpful. And always know that you can change the words if they're not the right words for you. So even though I feel this mom guilt.
Even though I feel this mom guilt.
And I have contraction in my body.
And I have contraction in my body.
I deeply and completely.
I deeply and completely.
Choose to love and accept myself anyways.
Choose to love and accept myself anyway.
Even though I feel mom guilt.
Even though I feel mom guilt.
And I have tension in my body.
And I have tension in my body.
When I think of how I reacted.
When I think of how I reacted,
I deeply and completely
I deeply and completely
choose to love and accept myself anyways.
choose to love and accept myself anyways,
Even though sometimes I feel mom guilt
even though sometimes I feel mom guilt
and I want to make myself bad or wrong.
and I want to make myself bad or wrong.
I choose to deeply and completely
I choose to deeply and completely
love and accept myself as I am.
love and accept myself as I am.
And then we go through after 3 rounds on the side of the hand. We come up to the inside of the eyebrow. These are the reminder points. This feeling of mom guilt.
This feeling of mom guilt.
And then the side of the eye. I shouldn't have responded that way.
I shouldn't have responded that way.
And under the eye. And I feel all this tension in my body.
And I feel all this tension in my body.
Under the nose. I should have done better.
I should have done better.
Chin. All this mom guilt.
All this mom guilt.
Collarbones. Feeling all this tension in my body.
Feeling all this tension in my body.
And under the arm along the bra strap line, I almost just want to hide.
I almost just want to hide.
On top of the head, all this tension in my body.
All this tension in my body.
Just take a nice deep breath in and then come back to the heart and the belly. And you once again just check in with the feeling. So we're noticing, acknowledging the feeling, measuring it, doing a round, and then checking back in. So if the tension was at like a 7, maybe it's gone down with the awareness. And to clarify, we're not tapping the feelings away or trying to make them go away, but we're making space for what's there, because a lot of the time we don't realize it, but we're resisting. So it's like we feel mom guilt, and then we feel bad that we're feeling mom guilt. And then we start to spiral down this negative spiral of energy. And with tapping, it's like we're choosing to reverse the direction, and we can start to vibrate at a higher frequency because we're not like getting stuck in these feelings of shame, guilt, fear that take us down.
Oh, I can feel energy rushing through my body right now. Even
It's amazing, right?
that one round, I can feel a shift. I'm holding something myself that's pretty intense right now with the current times, and I feel a definite shift in my energetic body for sure. Wow.
It's
Um,
beautiful.
yeah. And so I'll write underneath this episode, I will write what you just wrote so that people can change the words to suit them as well.
Absolutely. It's all about finding those right words. And then just to clarify, we focus on the negative. So the reason I was saying like I should have done better. A lot of times people have resistance to saying those negative things out loud, but it's kind of like we're cleaning up the mess. Like Louise Hayes says, like, you can't just walk into a room and spray Febreze on poop or like shit in the middle. Like, you can't just be like, okay, we're all good. And I think that's what a lot of people want to do. But with tapping, I love it because it's so real. It's like acknowledge the poop that's in the middle of the room that you're feeling in your body. And once you alleviate that, then we can start to tap into positive affirmations, which I can see in this case would be so helpful. Like, I'm through the points, you could just say like, I am a good mom and I'm doing the best that I can. And I choose to start again. And so you can also do tapping with positive affirmations as well.
Right. So you do go into the things that are uncomfortable first, and
Yes.
then you would do that 3 times, what we just did.
Yeah. So it's 3 times at the setup statement.
Okay.
And you kind of do it until the intensity is decreased. So you want to move through whatever that intense negative emotion is.
See, and then after you've gone through the whole process, you could then bring in the positive.
Exactly. When it feels authentic and when it like kind of bubbles up, like sometimes I ask people, is there another possibility that's starting to feel true? So it's like we start to open up to a different possibility of thinking rather than I'm the worst mother in the world and I've wronged my children, and which I think mothers actually really commonly go towards because we're wired for that. Like our brains are wired to what we're not doing right and how negative and wrong we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tough in this society to live up to other people's expectations as well. So I imagine by doing this practice, there's also this alignment that comes in with the heart. So even if you go into this practice confused, you could go in without expectations. And I expect, like without expectations, but I expect that probably there is more clarity on the other side because of what it is, of working with that side of you that maybe usually would be pushed away or like locked away. You kind of want to push it out there. It doesn't fit in line with what I believe a good, like a good mother is. But instead we welcome it in and we can listen to it and hold space for it and see maybe where it roots from. It might come, I imagine that things might come up to be seen and to be loved in that safe space. And I feel that so one of our episodes that we went into was postpartum rage and depression and anxiety. And I feel like this is a beautiful practice to have alongside that episode as well, for something to have in your tool bag to go to. And is there anything that we need to be aware of when doing this? Is there any risks at all associated with EFT? Big shout out to our sponsor, Evolving Humans, who are the pioneers for energy healing. This practice that I was taught 4 years ago has been studied by researchers all around the world to provide evidence of the physiological effects of energy healing. And I'm not just saying this because it's a promotion, but I have used this practice every single day for 4 years, and personally I've noticed the most impact in my emotional state. This energy practice taught me how to feel energy in my body and observe the sensations. The technique involves you using your hand and connecting to the energy field within your body. And with this gentle, loving awareness that you bring to the table, everything is seen and lived. The whole being comes into alignment. During the birth of my daughter, I tore, and the discomfort that I was experiencing with this tear started to ease up dramatically when I would use this technique. In the show notes, you'll find the link to Evolving Humans so that you can explore this healing technique, which is available through a course that you can join today.
No, there's no counterindications for tapping on these particular points. There's some other acupressure points like on the legs that are not good to do while pregnant, but these particular points are really safe. And I've had a lot of women use it for postpartum depression and work with other moms, and a couple of doulas, for example, join my training and use it for going over like the fears of going into birth, and then also with their children. It's such a sweet, I don't know how old your kiddos are, but I've had some moms do tapping with their kids as part of like a nighttime ritual. Like I learned it as a kid. So, you can tap on, like tapping was originally developed where the practitioner would physically tap on the client's face and tap on the client's body. And nowadays, I think, we're not as used to being that close to each other. So we can totally tap on ourselves, which is fantastic. But you can actually tap with consent on your kid's face and on through the points. And I have parents just ask, like, what was hard at school today? And as they're tapping, it's like you're regulating your kid's system and bringing up a challenge. So something that was hard for them at school. And then also you could ask another question like, what went well? And so just having another idea, of course, is like gratitude or something like that, but making it a bit of a ritual where you can help your kid regulate at night.
I love that. I'm going to try it with my daughter. She's nearly 3 now. She likes copying me, so she can copy
Yeah.
this.
Oh yeah, for sure. They love it. It's so funny. Kids like, and there's a book by the Tapping Solution called Gorilla Thumps and Bear Hugs. It's kind of like a tapping book that you can read at nighttime. And then there's also like on the internet, all sorts of like tap, because it's sort of, like tapping your chest like a gorilla or like a monkey. So making it playful and fun for the kids.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. I'm going to find these books.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so
And
sweet.
you were saying that the practitioner would usually do it onto the client. So with a mother, maybe she's exhausted and she needs to just lay down or whatever she's doing. Have you seen that it works well with partners or loved ones doing this practice for them?
Yeah, so you mean tapping on your child's body? Yeah, for sure.
On the mother, on the mother.
Oh,
So from a
yeah.
partner point of view.
Oh my goodness. Yes. My last partner was a tapping practitioner as well. And whenever I was upset, he would, with permission, of course, but it really helps. And some like just having somebody tap on you while you cry and talk about how hard things are. It just helps. You'll feel it in your body. I mean, it sounds crazy, of course, but when you're actually feeling it, it helps the energy move through the body and it's scientifically shown to help the system come back into a place of regulation. So it's a great way to support your partner or even your friend. Like I've had lots of friends crying around me and I'll just very subtly kind of squeeze their hand or because you don't necessarily have to tap very hard. You can just press on the points. There's also points on the ends of the fingertips. So squeezing on the end of your fingertips is I do this a lot when I'm like anxious on a Zoom call or, having a weird moment out in public. You can, you can just simply squeeze the ends of your fingertips and it also helps regulate the system.
Doing it right now, it feels great.
Nice, right? I know. They're kind of intuitive when you think about it too, because you see a lot of the time people rubbing their chin or massaging their temples, or kind of it's like or even rubbing their chest. I find like it's an intuitive thing that people are already almost doing.
I love that. And it makes me think about, I remember one time someone said to me, these movements are showing anxiety, right? Like, so I became I wasn't squeezing my cheek like I just did that, but I might have been pulling my ear or like somewhere around here. I always aim around this space. And it's interesting because even though it might be stemming from a sensation that we might class as anxiety, it's still by touching on them places is actually creating this, it's soothing your nervous system. And
Yeah.
it's funny how becoming too self-conscious can actually move you away from these innate healing practices.
Exactly. Like our body intuitively wants to move towards a place of harmony and
Yeah.
feeling regulated, right? So it becomes really natural. And the more that you tap, they've even shown studies like when I'm falling asleep at night, I often will just visualize the points. So you'll learn the recipe of the points. They're quite simple. But then it's been shown that if you just visualize that you're touching the points, it has the same effect.
Wow.
So it's incredible how, yeah, we don't actually even have to be tapping all the time, just becoming aware. It's like a mindfulness practice.
I love it. My partner works in energy healing. He did a lot of research in the labs about what was actually happening when he did this practice because it's a bit different than Reiki, where he uses his hand as an extension of the awareness. So it's like holding the energy from the body, but not pushing into it. So in some Reiki practices, like the one that I was taught, you go very close to the body and you feel a lot of sensations in your hands. But this is more about don't push into the energy, and it's all that feeling of just holding space. And you can do that as well, like you said, with your mind. You can hold this, it works exactly the same. And it blows my mind that these practices are so ancient and now we're bringing them back, and there's kind of this like little bit of convincing that needs to happen, but then once it's actually the trying of it. So I recommend whoever's listening, I'm sure you're going to be trying this because you're listening to the end. If you're listening to these words, you've listened till the end. So I'm sure just by trying it, it'll go from this concept to this knowing, which then makes it much easier to share with other people when you've had that physical experience with these practices.
Absolutely. And I find a lot of people, if like they're brand new to tapping, YouTube is amazing for this. Like just to go on, I don't have a huge channel or anything like that, but I do have some 5-minute practices. And I think to be able to visually see the points and to follow someone's words is helpful at first. And then I teach like a short course, like a 6-week course for people to learn more of the immersive information of it. So there's so much out there, but I think ultimately it's also like so empowering because a lot of people will be going to a therapist for years and years, but never really realized that you can actually start to attune to yourself. And that is like what we need. It's like, and it's the hardest thing to do. I'm going to just say it outright. I teach people how to do it, and I still, I'm still learning how to do it myself, but to attune to what you're feeling and to know that you can actually be with, welcome, accept, love all of the things that you're feeling and know that it'll shift and change. It's like you can become your own best healer and not rely on other people for the rest of your life.
I love that so much because being a human today there's so much information around. It's very easy for our nervous system to wake up and feel excited about all the things that are happening. So by being able to have tools like this one to use at any time of the day, and it doesn't have to be prescribed, you can just do it yourself. I
Yeah.
feel like that's such a huge, huge gift to humans because there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of reasons for us to feel that these big sensations running through us that then get carried away and get labeled and come out as actions. So being able to soothe ourselves, get ourselves anchored before we hang on to that thought or that next action can have some space before we'll carry through with it. So I think I'm very, very grateful for you being here today to share this. And I'd love for you to, if there's anything else you'd like to add, and also where can we find you? I'm obviously going to put it in the show notes, everyone, but
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think just on that point, I was reflecting how our attention, I saw somewhere that it's like there's a war on our attention right now. And I'm noticing that like more and more people talking about adult ADHD and how we're being so trained to be distracted, like through social media and this nonstop pull of doing this more, like you should be seeking this, like be more productive, be more. And as mothers, it's like that's exhausting because you're already at full capacity raising these little humans. So I think just that takeaway of if you could spend more time with yourself, like I really think that's the medicine, whether it's in nature, whether it's just sitting in silence, but anything that you can do that's you and yourself, that is really what tapping is all about too, because it's teaching you how to more deeply be with yourself, which is what I think we need. And Instagram is a great place. I post a lot on Instagram. It's my name, sachabryce.eft. My name is spelled SACHABRYCE.EFT. And from there, I have, I do free EFT experiences, usually about once a month. And that's a great way to dive a bit deeper, like a live Zoom call, and we can tap together and ask questions and all of that type of thing. So look out for that on my Instagram.
That's incredible. And I will be sharing that the next time that I see it pop up. I have a women's circle space as well on Instagram, and they're always looking for things to join in with. So I will pass that on as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is actually, interestingly enough, exactly what I needed right now. So thank you.
Yay. It's always divine like that.